Today we're going to talk about how to change the money mindset in your business. Now, I know if you're a business owner or you're a salesperson naturally, you might not get this money mindset thing being a problem. But I assure you, as I've worked with firm after firm, it shows up in business leaders, it shows up in employees, and it's something that could be holding you back from actually growing your business in the way that you were really envisioning. So I know that sometimes you like to jump ahead, so I'm just going to let you know that down below there's a PDF guide. It's the 5 steps that are holding visionary leaders back and keeping them caught in that day-to-day muck of management. Grab that down below and you're gonna see your whole world open up to new possibilities. And among there are ways to get rid of these money mindset issues almost instantaneously with your employees. Imagine for a moment that you have walked into a bank, that you're a customer in the bank, and without you even realizing it, there's lots of drama going on because you're making your deposit and you happen to be chit-chatting with the bank teller and you say, hey, I think I'm gonna buy my first condo this summer. The bank teller, who believes it's their job to be nice to customers and to process deposits and cut cashier's checks, says, oh, that sounds so exciting. And you get your money and you go on your way. Well, the branch manager has overheard this employee, and the branch manager thinks, another lost opportunity. I keep saying in meetings that we need to improve our mortgages. We want to sell mortgages. Why in the world does this person not say, hey, 5 feet over there, there's a mortgage broker. How can I help you get information, or would you like me to introduce them? It's so exciting about your new home purchase. Very simple thing for somebody to do, but there can be all sorts of hangups why somebody didn't. And we'll talk in another video about some of the communication problems that actually happen. But what's really going on is that oftentimes our employees, even though they've heard us say that an initiative is important, even though they know what that value will do for the firm or even for the clients, they hold back from doing it because of these messages that we've gotten about money throughout our life and what that really means and what it means to be a salesperson as well. So even if you are a hardcore salesperson, you love it, money mindset can keep you back and it can also keep back your employees. So one situation very similar to the story I just told you was actually with somebody who worked in a bank, and she'd just been promoted and we had a lovely conversation. Her boss had asked me to do some preliminary coaching with her, and great conversation, but something was a little bit off because what I understood from her manager was that she needed to actually go out and start doing some selling. She needed to do some networking with local businesses and start to bring new business into the bank. But she wasn't doing it. And so he'd asked me to coach her and just help her with some of her communication techniques and her confidence. But when I asked her point blank what she did for a living, her response was something like, well, I just process account opening paperwork and I answer client and staff inquiries. Well, that's great if you're still a relationship manager, but when you need to do sales, your job description involves a little bit more. And so when I walked her through one of the frameworks that you'll actually see in that 5 steps down below, her whole face lit up. She was like, oh, I get it now. That's what I'm supposed to do. Recognizing that everybody on a team is actually part of a sales team can actually diminish some of the fear that we have around selling. By recognizing that even somebody who's in back office accounting can be part of the sales process, can contribute to the growth of the client relationship, is really critical in helping change that money mindset and help those people start to do the things that we naturally want them to do to grow the business. Another example that I encountered was doing a workshop with a nonprofit. Now, of course, nonprofit, you're thinking they don't care about the money, but they do because they have such a mission behind what they're doing. But it meant they both had to keep full-time jobs. Their group and their influence was exploding, and yet even charging something like $5, $10 felt like too much to them. Everybody's part of a sales team about building a relationship through trust and growth, that the money is just incidental to it. It takes that pressure off of the money mindset issues without you having to dig in and really understand what childhood thing led to this money issue. We can actually just address it by looking at the business in completely different terms. Sometimes business is confusing to people, even those running businesses. So when we change the paradigm of how we look at businesses, we can worry less about the money mindset issue itself. The last one was a client of mine that she actually was in the business of doing the accounting work and doing collections for the company. And when we first met, she was all over the place. She was really scattered. Her boss would get really nervous about when money was going to be collected. And so he was asking her every other day to go make collections calls because he wanted to make sure they had enough cash for the business. They were running really tight based on some things that had been happening in their business. And then of course the pandemic came along and it changed the market dynamic. So when we talked, first, we started to set some boundaries. That money and this thing that he was demanding of her, it felt intrusive to her. It was a stressful experience for her to go out and make these phone calls. So what we did is we bundled it. Rather than her making them every other day, she did it twice a month. And I won't ever forget that client calling me up about a half an hour after my coaching conversation with her, where she decided that that's how she was going to do it, to block out these stressful time periods so she can get in the mode and do it. And he called me up, he goes, she just told me she's not available every other Friday morning. I go, yeah, that's what you wanted though. You wanted her to be able to make the collections calls. Well, yeah, well, you gotta let her set the boundaries. So she was able to set the boundaries because we framed it up as recognizing that it's a difficult thing to do. That unlike the business owner or the salesperson who doesn't have any problem having conversations about money, some people do have problems with those conversations. But what I found time and again is these mindset issues exist, but we don't have to necessarily tackle them head on. The first thing we do is we have to recognize that they're there. Second is we need to shift the paradigm, shift some of that control or the way we think about business to bring the humanity back into it, especially for those people where money is associated with negative feelings or it feels like they're being a bad person by asking for that money. If we shift the paradigm, we start talking about business in that trusted relationship, building that value over time in exchange for value back, we start to see changes in our employees because they can change the way they think about the situation and they can start adapting to it and setting their own boundaries and their own work cycle that really affects your business as a whole. So when we think about these three stories, my friend who worked in the bank, the nonprofit, and also the woman who works doing collections for a company, all three of them had different kind of mindset issues, not understanding the exact thing that was involved in the job and maybe even being a little bit intimidated by it. Thinking that it was wrong to collect money from people when you're trying to do good in the world. But there are lots of for-profit companies who do good in the world as well. And for our person who's collecting, our office manager who's collecting money, thinking about how she could set the boundaries on the energy that it took for her to do that, but also then translate that into doing it in a more humanized approach. And I really don't think that second could have happened if she hadn't first made the decision to protect her own energy first. So these are some concrete examples of how you can start changing the money mindset in your business and make it less of a burden, especially when you start to notice that it's holding back the growth initiatives in your business. Now, for that step-by-step how to get rid of these attitudes and start getting growth and everybody all hands on deck, check out that guide below. It's the 5 steps that are holding you back as a visionary leader and keeping you stuck in that day-to-day management. Check that out below. And if you've liked this video, please give it a like, subscribe, or leave a comment below and let me know what you'd like to see in future videos, or if you have any thoughts or insights, what especially in this video resonated with you. Thanks.